Miss Sterling, your husband tried to kill himself. When I woke up, my vision was filled with a blinding white. Before I could even process anything, a sharp, bone-deep pain shot through my wrist. Just as I started to come to, I heard an anxious woman's voice. Then, I saw a woman standing with her back to me, on the phone. Miss Sterling, Ethan is in the hospital. Are you going to come see him? An ice-cold, heartless female voice came from the other end of the line. Is he dead yet? If he's not, don't bother me. The call ended, and the woman sighed in frustration. When she turned around and saw me, she froze. After a moment, she walked over to me. You're awake. Who are you? I stared at her blankly. Were you talking to me? You don't recognize me? The woman's expression shifted. I'm Sarah, Miss Sterling's assistant. Who is Miss Sterling? Sarah frowned at me, her expression already tinged with impatience. Ethan, Miss Sterling is incredibly busy with work. Staging a suicide attempt didn't work, and faking amnesia won't work either. Just give it up. She's not coming to see you. I was completely lost, having no idea what she was talking about. Seeing my silence, Sarah took another step forward, her tone a mix of exasperation and pleading. Ethan, you've been married to Miss Sterling for 5 years, and you've been making scenes for 5 years. She still hasn't fallen in love with you. Don't you think it's time to do some self-reflection and stop causing her so much trouble? Even though I had no idea what was going on, her attitude made me deeply uncomfortable. The look on her face, in particular, filled me with a strange sense of disgust. Wait a minute, did you say 5 years? I bolted into the en-suite bathroom in my hospital room and stared at my reflection. It was definitely my face, identical, but it looked older, more mature, and carried a hint of melancholy that wouldn't fade. Could what that woman, Sarah, said actually be true? Is it really 5 years in the future? Am I really married? As it turned out, I really was married. For 5 years, in fact. I hadn't time traveled, and I wasn't dreaming. I had amnesia. My memory was stuck at age 18, right when I started college. I had a huge crush on an upperclassman named Chloe Sterling. She was the definition of an ice queen, flawless in looks, family background, and talent. She'd skipped grades as a kid, so even though she was a senior to me, she was actually a few years younger. And now, I was married to her. According to Sarah, I had married Chloe when I was 22. It was a whirlwind marriage with no real emotional foundation. I hadn't even graduated from college yet. We just got the license, no ceremony. After we got married, I discovered Chloe's heart wasn't in it. Instead, she was incredibly close with her best guy friend, Julian. He was supposedly her first love, the one that got away. And me, the one who wasn't loved, started to self-destruct in our marriage. I tried every bizarre trick in the book to get Chloe's attention, but all it did was make her despise me more and more. All her friends treated me like a joke, just placing bets on when we'd finally get divorced. Julian never gave me the time of day. He was the golden boy of their social circle, and every time I had one of my hysterical outbursts, I was nothing more than a clown to them. Finally, I used suicide to threaten Chloe, demanding she cut off all contact with Julian. But she refused. She even told me to go ahead and die. So I tried to kill myself. That's what happened right before I woke up. It all felt completely surreal. Trying to kill myself over a woman was something I could never imagine doing. I despise guys who act like pathetic sycophants. I would never be that for any woman. By the time I pieced all this together, I was already in the master bedroom of our house. The doctor said I was physically fine, so Sarah just sent me home. Before she left, she gave me a look that was both a warning and a plea to stop making scenes. Staring at the enormous mansion before me, I lost any desire to cause a scene. I was just completely stunned by the sheer, overwhelming opulence. The walk-in closet alone was bigger than my entire old apartment. As I was looking around our bedroom, completely dazzled, I heard a noise at the door. I whipped my head around and locked eyes with Chloe, whose expression was as cold as ice. Even though I knew we'd been married for 5 years, for me, this was the first time I was seeing her face this close. I had to admit, there was a good reason she was the goddess of my teenage years. Just looking at her face was enough to lift my spirits. Even with her cold expression directed at me, I couldn't bring myself to dislike her. It seemed Sarah's words had some truth to them. I guess I'm just a sucker for a pretty face. Seeing that I was silent, she frowned slightly. Ethan, what kind of scene are you trying to make now? As she spoke, she glided over to the walk-in closet, passing right by me without a second glance, and selected a silk robe. I turned to look at her. A scene. I hadn't said a single word since she walked in, and she was accusing me of making a scene? Chloe's dark eyes narrowed at me. You usually throw yourself at me the second I walk in the door. Is this some new tactic? I was a little taken aback. Was I really that desperate for her after we got married? But I kept my expression neutral and said flatly, Oh, That won't be happening again. I expected her to look relieved. Instead, her frown deepened, and she looked at me with growing impatience. I'm exhausted from work lately, and I don't have the energy to play along with your drama. I was speechless. When I didn't respond, Chloe's eyes turned sharp and cold. Ethan, don't you dare try anything with Julian again. He's done nothing wrong, and threatening me with suicide won't change a thing. I froze, a mix of complicated emotions swirling inside me. Sarah had already filled me in on most of the drama between Chloe and me. It was a simple, pathetic story. I loved Chloe, Chloe loved Julian, and I was the clown caught in the middle, constantly harassing Julian and only making Chloe hate me more. This latest suicide attempt was because I was jealous of how much Chloe doted on Julian. I had secretly been sabotaging his company and smearing his clients, but she had backed him without a moment's hesitation. That was a clear message to everyone in their social circle that I, her husband, was a husband in name only, that in her heart, I wasn't worth a fraction of what Julian was to her. That's why I lost it and tried to use suicide to win her back. The result was predictable. A woman who already couldn't stand me wasn't going to suddenly change her mind because I tried to kill myself. She'd just see it as another hassle. Seeing me remain silent, Chloe lost her patience and went straight into the bathroom. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding and collapsed onto the king-sized bed, my mind a chaotic mess. Having lost the last few years of my life, I truly couldn't understand how I had become this unhinged person. My 18-year-old self despised people who were obsessed with love, yet here I was, ready to die for a woman. I never, ever thought I would see this day. My thoughts were racing, and before I could figure out my next move, the covers beside me were pulled back, and a soft, warm body slid into bed next to me. A wave of her scent made me jolt. I turned my head and saw Chloe looking at me with those dark, familiar eyes. They held their usual icy indifference, but now there was something deeper, something suppressed, swirling within them. I stammered, "WH, what are you doing?" Even with my memory gone, based on everything I'd been told, Chloe and I were supposed to have a terrible relationship, right? We probably even slept in separate beds. So why was she lying next to me so casually? Chloe seemed oblivious to my discomfort as she wrapped a soft arm around my waist. Without a word, she moved on top of me, her delicate fingers expertly tracing lines on my skin, igniting a feeling I'd never known. Chloe. I couldn't help but cry out her name. Get off of me. The genuine resistance in my eyes must have surprised her, because a flicker of shock crossed her face. But it was quickly replaced by annoyance. Ethan, don't throw a fit. I hated the way she always spoke to me in that tone. It was even starting to make the face I'd crushed on for years seem less attractive. I'm your husband, right? I was in the hospital after trying to kill myself, and you come home without a single word of concern. Fine, but now you're just attacking me. Chloe, what gives you the right to treat me this way? My anger seemed to ignite hers as well. She grabbed my wrist, her voice frigid. Because you brought all of this on yourself. She wasn't very strong, but her grip landed directly on the cut on my wrist. It hurt, but I bit back the sound of pain. Chloe suddenly let go, as if she'd lost interest. She rolled over, turning her back to me. I'll let it go this time, she said, her voice cold. But don't ever pretend to kill yourself to threaten me again. Lying next to her, I felt a storm of conflicting emotions. When I woke up the next morning, Chloe was gone. I threw on some clothes and went downstairs to find her already at the dining table eating breakfast. The housekeeper stood beside her and greeted me. Good morning, Mr. Hayes. I stood there, frozen. Without looking up, Chloe said, come eat. Even though it was just breakfast, the spread was staggering. I couldn't help but think, this is what it's like to be rich. Even breakfast is a huge production. I sat down across from Chloe, and the housekeeper placed a bowl of tapioca pudding in front of me. I was speechless. What guy eats this for breakfast? I smelled mango and wrinkled my nose. Why is there mango in this? The housekeeper replied, Mr. Julian had it sent over specially. It's his favorite, flown in from Europe. My appetite vanished instantly. I'm not eating. The clink of silver against porcelain echoed crisply in the silence. Chloe looked up, her voice cool. Ethan, that's enough. I was fuming. Is me not eating mango a problem for you now? You're only refusing to eat it because Julian sent it, aren't you? Chloe's expression was glacial. Ethan, when are you going to get your jealousy under control? Me? Jealous of Julian? I had no idea what the 27-year-old version of me was like around Chloe, but I guessed he was a pathetic, petty man. But we're supposed to be married. How could she not even know I'm allergic to mangoes? Just as I was about to say something, the housekeeper announced, Ma'am, Mr. Julian is here. A smooth voice followed. Chloe, am I interrupting? A tall figure appeared in the doorway. The way the staff greeted him, so familiarly, made it obvious he was a frequent visitor. One glance was all it took for me to know it was Julian. I noticed the housekeeper's form of address. I was Chloe's husband, yet she called me Mr. Hayes, while he was Mr. Julian. The difference in familiarity was obvious. No wonder my older self was so obsessed with him. We were legally married, yet I could never compete with her blatant favoritism for another man, all under the excuse of them being childhood friends. Anyone would lose their mind in that situation. Julian looked at me with feigned concern. Mr. Hayes, I heard about what happened. Are you feeling better? I snorted, not bothering to hide my contempt. I don't know what my 27-year-old self was like around them. Probably a total pushover, letting them walk all over him because he was so in love with Chloe. But I'm not him. I'm 18 again, and I don't love Chloe. So there was no reason to bite my tongue. Julian turned to Chloe, looking troubled. Chloe, I'm sorry. It seems Mr. Hayes doesn't want me here. Perhaps I shouldn't have come. Then why did you? I cut straight to the point. Did you come here to laugh at me? Julian's face flushed crimson. Chloe shot me a cold glare. Ethan, stop making a scene. She was defending him. My stomach soured, and whatever lingering good impression I had of her took another hit. The initial thrill of waking up married to the girl of my dreams was fading fast. Now, I was starting to see that Chloe wasn't so great after all. Who cares how beautiful or rich she is? Does treating her own husband like dirt make her feel superior? She shouldn't have married me in the first place. I was seething, but Julian remained the perfect, calm gentleman. Chloe, I actually came to invite you to my celebration party. After he said it, he seemed to remember I was standing right there, a living, breathing person. He clearly felt obligated to invite me, adding, Mr. Hayes, you should come too. Of course. I had no intention of going, but when I saw the faint glint of contempt and provocation in Julian's eyes, a smirk played on my lips. Of course, I agreed. After all, I'm Chloe's husband. It's my duty to accompany her to these things. And just like that, I went with Chloe to Julian's party. When the three of us walked into the private room, all eyes turned to us, expressions ranging from shock to amusement. Why did Chloe bring him? It's not surprising. The guy is a complete drama queen, hostile to every man who even looks at Chloe, especially Julian. I heard he tried to kill himself over Julian. Is that true? You bet. He needs to get a grip. He was lucky to marry Chloe in the first place. Who does he think he is to try and control her? I mean, forget all the other guys. This is Julian we're talking about. How can he even compare? The whispers were just loud enough for me to hear every word. I scanned the room, guessing they were all friends of Chloe or Julian. They were all part of the same crowd. That much was certain. I sneered to myself. No wonder my older self tried to end it all. How could anyone listen to this garbage day in and day out and not end up completely warped? And I must have really loved Chloe back then, to suffer so much day after day that I was willing to give up my own life. Chloe and Julian had already taken their seats, which had been saved for them, leaving me standing there alone. Isn't he embarrassed just standing there by himself? Why would he be? As long as he gets to be near Chloe, he'd probably get on his knees if you asked him to. I shot a cold glare at the man running his mouth. She's not dead. Why would I kneel for her? The man's expression changed, clearly shocked that I had actually talked back. Chloe looked annoyed. All right, that's enough from everyone. I was being openly mocked, and not only did she not defend me, she just told everyone to stop, treating us both as if we were equally at fault. I scoffed. Clearly I'm not welcome here. I won't impose any longer. With that, I turned and walked out. I heard sharp intakes of breath behind me. Did I just see that correctly? He actually gave Chloe an attitude. Did Julian finally drive him crazy? I'll bet you $20 he doesn't last half an hour before he comes crawling back. The voices faded. The noise from the party grated on me, so I went out to the pool area to clear my head. A few minutes later, Julian came out. Mr. Hayes, I have to say, you've surprised me. I glanced behind him and saw he was alone. A smirk touched my lips. Considering how much I hate you, aren't you afraid I'll push you into the pool right now? Julian laughed. I'd be more surprised if you had the guts. After all, everyone knows Chloe would save me. I pressed my lips together, not wanting to engage with him. Julian stepped closer. Ethan, care to make a wager? I found it strange. If you two are so in love, why don't you just have Chloe divorce me? Julian, do you have to trample all over someone's heart just to play out your little love story? Is that what you call true love? Julian's expression faltered. That's only because you refuse to let her go. You're so desperate to keep her that you'd even try to kill yourself. She doesn't love you. She just pities you. He quickly composed himself, his calm and gentle mask back in place. So, Ethan, are you willing to bet? The surface of the pool shimmered, looking deceptively shallow, but I knew it was deep. I shook my head firmly. No, I can't swim. Trying to kill myself was stupid enough the first time. I wasn't about to do it again. I had just started to stand up when I saw a look of disappointment in Julian's eyes. He was standing right behind me. He shoved me hard. Splash. Screams erupted around me as my body hit the water and began to sink rapidly. In that moment, I felt nothing. There was only the terrifying sensation of water flooding my senses from all sides. Water filled my throat, and my lungs grew heavy. I struggled desperately to reach the surface, only to see a familiar figure swimming swiftly in the opposite direction. My wife, Chloe, when both Julian and I were in the water, swam to him. A sharp pain pierced my heart. It was perhaps the last remnant of emotion from my 27-year-old self. Even though I had forgotten the past and no longer loved her, my body's instincts remained. And this time, that feeling was drowned for good. When I came to, I was lying on the edge of the pool. Both Julian and I had been pulled out. Chloe had saved him. A woman I didn't know had saved me. She was beautiful, with an incredible figure. I was lying on the ground as she performed chest compressions, trying to force the water out of my lungs. I coughed up a lungful of water. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chloe walking towards us. Julian was putting on a show, watching her approach. Chloe seemed to have just remembered she had a husband. She frowned and asked, "Are you okay?" I didn't answer, just struggled to my feet. The woman beside me tried to help, but I pushed her away. When Chloe was standing right in front of me, I raised my hand, fully intending to slap her. But I don't hit women. My hand hung in the air for a moment before I grabbed her and shoved her to the ground. A dead silence fell over the crowd. I could hear people deliberately holding their breath. Chloe, the perfect, privileged princess, had probably never had a hand laid on her in her entire life, let alone been thrown to the ground. "Chloe, I want a divorce." After a long moment, my own voice cut through the silence. "I don't want anything from you. Consider that shove your severance payment to your soon-to-be ex-husband." I had braced myself for any of Chloe's possible reactions. Anger, shock, disappointment, disgust. But whatever her reaction was, it didn't matter to me anymore. The silence around us was deafening, even more profound than before. I could hear the water dripping from my clothes onto the pavement, and the sound of everyone around me breathing as quietly as possible. They seemed stunned that I, the guy who always followed Chloe around like a puppy, had actually laid a hand on her. Not only that, but I had also asked for a divorce. Chloe was silent for a long time, a red mark already forming on her delicate cheek. She suddenly started walking toward me. I felt a wave of revulsion and took a step back. In that instant, Chloe's expression darkened even more. It was worse than when I had pushed her. "I already told you, consider the push a severance payment." I glared at her. "Chloe, don't tell me you can't even let that go." Chloe said nothing. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she grabbed my wrist and tried to drag me away. In the confusion, a slender hand grabbed my other arm. It was the woman who had saved me. She glanced at me, then at Chloe, and instead of pulling me away, she smiled playfully. "Chloe, he almost drowned. Maybe cut him some slack." It was the woman who had pulled me from the pool. She was soaked to the bone, which gave her a wild, captivating kind of energy. She was the complete opposite of Chloe. Chloe was cold, calculating, an ice princess. This woman was wild, untamed, and utterly alluring. I was momentarily captivated. Chloe seemed to notice, and her expression instantly became terrifyingly dark. She tightened her grip on my hand. "Jessica, he's my husband. Who are you to tell me what to do?" Jessica's nonchalant expression didn't change. Funny, I could have sworn I just heard him say he wants a divorce. The atmosphere grew tense. Jessica saw the murderous look in Chloe's eyes and just smiled again. "In any case, I did just save your husband's life. Don't you think you should thank me?" Chloe's expression softened slightly. "The West Side Project. It's all yours." With that, she started dragging me away. A chorus of gasps rose up from the crowd behind us. "The West Side Project is a huge deal." Chloe just handed it over to Jessica. "Just like that? That's a multi-billion-dollar project. Even the Hayes family only got a small piece of that, and she's giving the whole thing to Jessica, just because she saved that husband of hers. No way." I thought Chloe couldn't stand that nobody. The voices continued. Chloe took me to a hotel room. She was very particular and never stayed in a room someone else had used, so even at this hotel, there was a permanent suite on the top floor reserved just for her. She dragged me by the wrist the entire way, not saying a word, and pushed me into the bathtub. As the warm water enveloped me, I couldn't help but say, "Chloe, can you please leave?" She was just as she'd been before, cold and withdrawn. She'd been like this ever since I pushed her. "No," she finally said, her voice hoarse. I was just about to get out of the tub when she suddenly came back in. I had no idea what she was planning and jumped in surprise. The next second, I felt a weight on my chest as she hugged me tightly. Chloe's arms wrapped around me like vines, so tight I could barely breathe. Her delicate chin rested on my head. I struggled, but she only held me tighter. Just as my patience wore out, I heard her voice, beautiful but strained with emotion. "Ethan, thank God you're okay." My own voice was ice. "Chloe, stop pretending. Jessica was the one who saved me." What right did she have to say that? I would never forget the sight of her swimming toward him when we were both in the water. Even though I'd lost 5 years of memories and didn't love her anymore, my heart still felt a primal stab of pain in that moment. It was a suffocating feeling, like drowning, and it was unbearable. I think that must have been my 27-year-old self's last gasp. I'm glad I have amnesia. Otherwise, given how much my older self loved her, the pain probably would have killed me. Chloe was speechless. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. "I can't swim, and she saved Julian. That's a fact. If it hadn't been for Jessica, I wouldn't be here right now. I was wrong about what happened," Chloe finally said after a long silence. "Ethan, it will never happen again." "Whatever," I said calmly. "After the divorce, you can save whoever you want. It'll have nothing to do with me." Chloe tightened her embrace. "I know you're angry, but it's not what you think." She paused, then added, "And I don't agree to a divorce." "What right do you have to disagree?" When we were both in the water, she chose him without a second thought. She put his life before mine. I don't see any reason for this marriage to continue. Besides, she chose him in front of all those people. Do I have no pride? Don't I deserve some respect? "Chloe, I'm telling you, this marriage is over." She seemed annoyed, but she knew I had every right to be furious, so she held her tongue. When I got out of the tub and lay down on the bed, she immediately clung to me again. "Let's just get some sleep. We can talk about this tomorrow." "Get away from me," I said through gritted teeth. "Chloe, don't push me." Chloe scoffed. "You? Get physical with me? I'd like to see you try." I gritted my teeth and moved toward her most sensitive spot. Her expression changed instantly, a faint blush rising to her cheeks before vanishing. She suddenly softened, kissing the corner of my mouth. Okay, stop it. I was wrong. I'll find a way to make it up to you." My head was starting to ache, a sharp throbbing in my temples. I couldn't imagine how pathetic my older self must have been for her to think that even after all this, she could still smooth things over so easily. What did she take me for? I clenched my fists and shoved her away without a second thought. Chloe's expression hardened. She suddenly shifted, pinning me beneath her, looking down at me. "If you can't sleep, then let's do something to pass the time." Just as she leaned in to kiss me, my face went pale and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. "It hurts," I cried out, my whole body shaking. Chloe seemed to snap out of it. "Where did I hurt you?" The panic in her eyes for that 1 second almost made me believe she actually cared. But I quickly dismissed the thought. I was just imagining things. A woman who didn't care if I lived or died wasn't going to care about a cut on my wrist. I bit my lip, saying nothing. Chloe grew anxious. "Tell me what's wrong. Tell me." Before I could answer, the faint smell of blood filled the air. Chloe stared, stunned, at the hand she was gripping, at the gauze wrapped around my wrist. She had assumed it was all just a ploy for attention, so it had never occurred to her that the cut was real. Her face grim, she slowly unwrapped the gauze. It was soaked through with fresh blood. When she saw the deep, open gash in my skin, her pupils contracted sharply. "Ethan," I looked at her coldly, yanking my hand back despite the searing pain. "You see it now? Are you satisfied?" "You were serious?" A storm of emotion raged in her eyes. "Who gave you permission to kill yourself?" I stared her straight in the eye. "Do you even care that I tried to kill myself? You just stood by and watched me almost drown." My words hit their mark. I saw her dark eyes flinch, as if she was trying to look away. A moment later, she said in a hoarse voice, "I'll get a doctor to come look at you." Julian arrived with the doctor. He had changed into fresh clothes, his dark hair perfectly styled. He looked like a charming playboy. He stood nervously in the doorway. "Chloe, is he okay?" Chloe nodded, her gaze heavy. "You should go home and rest. I'll handle this. I just feel so guilty." Julian sighed, playing the part of the perfect gentleman. After all, it was because of me that Mr. Hayes almost drowned. Before he could finish, I cut him off coldly. "You're quite an actor." The color drained from Julian's face. "It's a shame there are no security cameras by the pool. If Chloe had heard the things you said to me, I wonder what she'd think of you then." In the end, Julian made a hasty exit. He was probably used to getting his way with Chloe by stirring up trouble, but I wasn't playing his game anymore. Whatever he said, I met it head on. He couldn't handle it, and had no idea why I had suddenly changed so much. He knew he'd give himself away if he stayed any longer, so he left. I was glad to be rid of them. I didn't want to see either of them. Chloe gave me a long, hard look. "You get some rest. I'll come see you tomorrow." I nodded. "Bring the divorce papers with you." If you don't draw them up, I'll have my lawyer do it. Her fortune was probably immense. If she drafted the papers, it would be cleaner and would prevent her from thinking I was after her money. Chloe's eyes darkened for a moment. Finally, she just said, "I'm not divorcing you." With that, she closed the door and left. It seemed she knew that staying here would only annoy me. A little while later, Chloe sent me an iMessage, telling me to wait for her here tomorrow. I looked at my phone. I first tried my own birthday as the passcode, but it didn't work. I thought for a second, then tried Chloe's birthday. It unlocked immediately. I let out a bitter laugh, mocking the pathetic man I had become, and immediately changed the passcode back to my own birthday. The next day, I didn't wait for her. Instead, I called Jessica. "It's Ethan." I got straight to the point. "Do you have time to grab a drink?" "What's this about?" Jessica's voice was a little raspy, but it held a playful, teasing tone. "I wanted to thank you. You saved my life yesterday. I'm the kind of person who believes in giving credit where it's due. I really couldn't understand how my 27-year-old self could have become so pathetic for a woman." "Okay," she said. We decided to meet at a nearby coffee shop. When I got there, Jessica was already waiting. "You're punctual." I sat down. "So tell me, how can I thank you?" "Anything you want." Jessica looked at me, a slight frown creasing her forehead. "You seem different somehow." "Do I?" I ran a hand through my hair, not wanting to let on that I had amnesia, especially since I had no idea what my relationship with this Jessica was. Based on yesterday, we were practically strangers. I forced a smile. "How so?" "Maybe I'm still shaken up from yesterday." "Ethan, what's really going on with you?" Jessica frowned, her expression suddenly serious. "We've known each other for years. You can tell me anything." I froze. "We've known each other for years?" "I don't remember that at all." Jessica tapped her fingers on the table. "Don't tell me you've forgotten me." I gave her a wry smile. "Should I?" She studied me with an intensity that made me feel like she could see right through me. "Ethan, something is seriously wrong with you. Ever since you woke up after your suicide attempt, you've been completely different. Is it because of Chloe?" I let out a sarcastic laugh. "If even you can tell I'm different, but she can't, then this marriage really is pointless." Jessica looked at me as if I'd said something unbelievable. "You're really going to divorce her?" Surprised, I took a sip of my coffee. "After what happened yesterday, don't you think a divorce is justified?" She shook her head. "The old you was so completely obsessed with her. I never would have believed you were serious about a divorce." A teasing smile played on her lips. "When you married Chloe, you were head over heels. You followed her everywhere. You couldn't stand any other man being near her, especially not Julian. Was I really that crazy? Worse, you were incredibly possessive, yet at the same time, completely pathetic, terrified she would leave you. But to be fair, even though she always seemed annoyed with you, she never actually talked about leaving you." She sighed. "After you married her, you cut off all your old friends, especially the women. We were friends in college. We went through a lot together. Even after I told you how I felt and you turned me down, we were still friends. But you just cut me off completely. It wasn't until after graduation, when I finally managed to break into Chloe's social circle, that I was able to see you again. And even then, you acted like you didn't know me." She told me a lot, and our relationship suddenly became clear. So that was it. She was a friend from college, someone I met after I turned 18. No wonder I had no memory of her. So, I met Jessica in college. She confessed her feelings. I turned her down, and then I met Chloe, and we got married on a whim. After marrying Chloe, I turned into a complete loser, a laughingstock with no dignity. I loved her so pathetically that I cut off all my old friends. Jessica's only option was to work her way into Chloe's social circle, just to be able to speak to me. "So, you must know me pretty well then." My eyes lit up. With my amnesia, I was completely in the dark about my current life. I didn't even know what I did for a living. With her help, things could get a lot easier. I didn't want Chloe to find out about my amnesia. That would only complicate things. Time flew by. I didn't say it out loud, but Jessica seemed to understand that I was in some kind of trouble. She didn't press for details, but she did fill me in on what my life had been like for the past few years. I got the general picture and couldn't help but feel a strange sense of melancholy. I couldn't believe my 27-year-old self was capable of loving someone that much. It was something my 18-year-old mind couldn't comprehend. To suddenly be 9 years older and have turned into the exact kind of pathetic guy I used to despise, it was impossible to accept. Just as Jessica and I were laughing and talking, a familiar voice cut in from nearby. "Isn't that Ethan? What's he doing with Jessica?" Then, as if realizing something, he added, "Oh, it must be because she saved him yesterday. He's probably just thanking her. I'm sure Ethan isn't the type to just meet up with other women behind Chloe's back." I turned my head and saw Chloe standing there, with Julian right beside her. Chloe gave me a cold look. I remember telling you I don't like you spending time with her. I frowned. We're getting a divorce. It's none of your damn business. I couldn't believe I had actually cut off my own friends just because Chloe didn't approve. Maintaining boundaries is one thing, but why should I be forced to have no female friends at all? Chloe turned to Jessica, her face a blank mask. You saved my husband yesterday, and I've already thanked you with the West Side Project. There's no need for you two to meet privately. Jessica just smiled, a hint of defiance in her eyes. Yesterday, you thanked me as his wife. Today, I'm here as his friend to accept his thanks. Please don't confuse the two. The tension in the air became thick enough to cut with a knife. I couldn't stand the sight of them any longer. I grabbed my bag. Jessica, let's go somewhere else. Chloe immediately grabbed my arm, her eyes cold. Where do you think you're going? What's it to you? I glanced at Julian standing behind her. Go spend time with your boyfriend. And send me the divorce papers soon. Otherwise, he'll always be the other man. Chloe opened her mouth to say something, but I had no interest in hearing it. I shook her hand off and left with Jessica. I didn't get home until evening. I still felt like a stranger in this world. I knew I had to find my own place in the next couple of days. Otherwise, I'd have nowhere to go after the divorce. When Chloe saw me, she walked over, her eyes cold. So you decided to come home. Her accusatory tone pissed me off. Can you stop watching my every move? I just went out with a friend. What does it have to do with you? As soon as the words left my mouth, a sharp pain shot through my temples. Blurry images flashed through my mind. I stumbled back, grabbing the arm of the sofa for support. It felt like I had heard those exact words before. I looked up at her, my eyes bloodshot. I remembered. A clear memory surfaced in my mind. Chloe, saying those exact same words to me. She had been out late for a work event, and when I asked her about it, she had shut me down with that same impatient tone. And now, I was throwing those same words right back at her. Chloe seemed to remember it too. I saw her swallow hard. After a long pause, she finally explained, It's not what you think with Julian. Our families have been friends for generations. Some things are unavoidable, but I've already been trying to see him less. You don't have to do this. I cut her off. If you're only doing this because you feel guilty about not saving me in the pool, and you think you can make it up to me, so I won't divorce you, don't bother. I shook my head. You'd be better off just giving me a generous settlement in the divorce. After that day, Chloe and I were once again at a bitter impasse. I couldn't for the life of me understand why she didn't want a divorce. She was in love with Julian and couldn't stand me. Wouldn't a divorce be exactly what she wanted? I couldn't figure her out, and I didn't want to waste any more energy trying. The next day, I found a way to move out. When Chloe got home and discovered I was gone, she called me immediately. Ethan, what is this? What do you mean, what is this? We're getting divorced. We can't keep living together. I said, just get the papers drawn up as soon as you can. Before I could finish, she hung up. I tossed my phone on the table, done with her drama. I had just finished unpacking at my new place when there was a knock on the door. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, I found Chloe standing there, her face tight with suppressed rage. My expression soured. What are you doing here? Wait, how did you even know I was here? Chloe strode past me into the apartment, glancing around at the modest furnishings. You'd rather live in this dump than stop throwing a tantrum and come home. I took a deep breath. Chloe, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I am serious about divorcing you. At this point, I was starting to get confused myself. Why won't you divorce me? I looked at her, completely baffled. Isn't this what you've always wanted? When did I ever say I wanted to divorce you? She looked at me like I was being completely irrational. Are you still angry about Julian? Her expression grew serious. I thought you understood. I didn't intentionally not save you that day. I just stood there, my expression hard, and refused to answer. She suddenly sighed, put her hands on my shoulders, and guided me to the sofa. Ethan, stop being difficult. Come home with me. I promise. Nothing like that will ever happen again. It had happened so many times before. Wasn't it a little late to start trying to fix things now? I pushed her hands away. No, thanks. Just have the divorce papers ready. Chloe suddenly cupped my face in her hands. Ethan, do you really have to push things this far? I told you. I'm not throwing a tantrum. You're really going to sleep in a place like this all by yourself? What other choice do I have? Chloe suddenly nibbled on my earlobe. Honey, come home with me. You won't be able to sleep in a place like this by yourself. I found that laughable. Maybe for a princess like you. This place is a dump, but for me, it's perfectly fine. It's even close to my office. Chloe sighed. Do I have to spell it out for you? Ethan, you can't sleep without me. My eyes widened as if I'd heard something from a horror movie. I can't sleep without you. Ever since I woke up with amnesia, I'd been under the impression that Chloe and I were a miserable, resentful couple. I loved her. She couldn't stand me. But from the way she was talking now, you'd think we were a deeply in love couple that just fought a lot. Before Chloe could say anything else, I pulled her to her feet and pushed her toward the door. Chloe, I've made up my mind. I want a divorce. I can't live like this for one more day. After kicking Chloe out, I started to settle into my new apartment. I had gotten a handle on things at work, but catching up was still a struggle, so I needed to put in a lot of extra hours. That evening, I decided to order some food and scrolled through Facebook while I waited. A photo posted by Julian caught my eye. It was a picture of him and Chloe, though it was subtle, only showing her profile. But her profile was so distinctive that anyone would recognize her instantly, even from just a shadow. Julian had also posted a cryptic caption. If only we hadn't missed our chance. Maybe I would be the one by your side now. But it's not too late. We still have time to make things right. I scoffed. Wasn't he just implying that Chloe and I had a loveless marriage, that we'd get divorced eventually, and that she'd end up with him? I liked the post, left a 100 emoji in the comments, and then immediately blocked him. Then I found Chloe's contact and blocked her number and all her social media accounts. The next day, when I got to the office, Chloe was already there, waiting for me downstairs with a grim expression. As soon as she saw me, she strode over. You blocked me. Sorry. I admitted it without hesitation. I shouldn't have blocked you. Just as her expression started to soften, I added, I forgot we're not divorced yet. Are you here with the papers for me to sign? I was just about to take some time off anyway, so I'm free. We can sign them and go straight to the courthouse. Chloe's face instantly turned dark and menacing. Ethan, unblock my number. No, honey. Her tone suddenly softened. I'm sorry. Please, just unblock my number. I rolled my eyes. I don't even know your number. As soon as I said it, Chloe's expression changed. You don't remember my number? No. So what? She gripped my shoulders, as if just now realizing something was truly wrong. How could you forget my number? You used to know it by heart. Crap. My heart sank. She was onto me. I quickly looked away. I just forgot, okay? We're getting divorced. Am I not allowed to forget your number? Ethan, what is really going on with you? Chloe stared at me intently. Ever since you woke up, you've been like a completely different person. Afraid she would figure it out, I shook her hand off me. Isn't that normal? People change after going through something like that. Did you expect me to go back to being your pathetic little shadow, with no self-respect? Chloe looked at me, a dangerous light flashing in her eyes. Ignoring my excuses, she snatched my phone out of my hand. She tried to unlock it with practiced ease, but the passcode was wrong. She frowned. You changed your passcode? Yeah. So, your old passcode was my birthday. Chloe looked at me coldly, but I could see a flicker of hurt in her eyes. I didn't want to argue about this. Chloe, give me back my phone. I need to go request time off. If you wanted, I could buy this entire company for you. Do you really need this job? As she spoke, she tried a few more passcodes. Our anniversary. Wrong. She pressed her lips together, then tried my birthday. It worked. She gave me a long, searching look, then, without a word, changed the passcode to our anniversary date. I snatched the phone back and tried to unlock it, but it wouldn't open. I was furious. Chloe, what gives you the right to change my passcode? The passcode is our wedding anniversary. You can change it back. I froze. How was I supposed to know our anniversary? I have amnesia. My only knowledge of her was from a high school crush. Now that I knew her true colors, her pretty face, her amazing body, and her family's fortune meant nothing to me. I would never have bothered to learn something like our anniversary. You've forgotten, haven't you? Her eyes were like a hawk's, piercing right through me. She gripped my shoulders. You have amnesia. She said the words with absolute certainty. It was true. I had amnesia. Now that Chloe knew, the divorce process came to a grinding halt. Knowing I had amnesia gave her the perfect excuse to refuse the divorce. You just don't remember, she said. It doesn't mean you don't love me. Those were her exact words. Ethan, once you get your memory back, you won't want to divorce me. Her words repulsed me. I was terrified that if my memories did come back, I would revert to being that pathetic, 27-year-old version of myself. That version of me was just too sad. I would rather never remember. When I got back to my apartment from work and opened the door, I was about to toss my bag on the couch when I saw a dark figure sitting there. It looked up at me suddenly. Ethan, she said my name. I jumped. When did you get here? Wait, how do you have a key to my apartment? Chloe said, I contacted the landlord. I was losing my patience. Give me the key. I'm changing the locks tomorrow. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with that complicated expression. How much have you forgotten? I haven't forgotten anything. I said impatiently. I'm divorcing you because I don't love you anymore. How many times do I have to tell you? Before I could finish, Chloe suddenly grabbed my arm and wrapped her arms around my waist. She held me tightly, burying her face against my side. The position was a little intimate, but Chloe didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. She just seemed to want to be close to me. Don't say that. You have amnesia, so I'll let it slide. She said in a hoarse voice. When you get your memory back, then we'll settle this. I was at the end of my rope. Chloe, will you ever stop? You don't love me. You treat me like crap. Why should I stay with you? So what if I have amnesia? I hate the person I was, the one with no identity of his own, who just followed you around. I like who I am now. I don't love you anymore, do you get it? I've wanted to leave you for a long time. I've wanted to leave her for a long time. At this realization, Chloe's grip on me tightened. No, we're just fighting. Ethan, I already explained to you. I didn't mean for that to happen. She cupped my face in her hands. I didn't want to have to say this, because I thought we understood each other better than anyone. Even though I saved Julian, you should have known there was a misunderstanding. She rested her forehead against mine and sighed. Now that you have amnesia and don't remember me, I feel like I need to explain it clearly. Julian and I, it's not what you think. The Sterlings and the Hayeses are old family friends. His grandfather did a great service for my grandfather once. We were technically engaged as children, but I never had any romantic feelings for him. After I married you, my grandfather felt he owed their family, so he asked me to look out for Julian. That's all there is to it. I scoffed. Who's going to believe that? You valued his life more than mine. Chloe squeezed my cheek and sighed. It seems you're still upset about that. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had amnesia then, or I would have explained everything right away. I had no desire to hear her excuses, but Chloe was insistent. She held me so tightly I couldn't move, so I had no choice but to listen. That day, when I heard someone fell in the water, my first instinct was to check if you were okay. When they said it was Julian, I was relieved. But my grandfather thinks of him as a grandson, so I had to save him. I had no idea you were in the water too. Just a few simple sentences, and just like that, she absolved herself of all blame. She saw the disbelief on my face and was silent for a long moment. You don't believe me, do you? Why should I? I looked at her coldly. Everyone saw you. You didn't even hesitate. You just went straight for him. You were saving him, not me. And after Jessica pulled me out, you were still so cold to me. Chloe, I'm not blind. I can feel your disdain. Chloe swallowed hard and gently wrapped her arms around me. This time, her touch was surprisingly soft. It was the first time I had ever seen her show any vulnerability. Ethan, I wasn't being cold. I was angry because you almost died. Chloe's voice was low. If you hadn't been okay, I think I might have killed someone that day. I shook my head. Chloe, if you really care about me, then divorce me. Let me go? Let me be free. Anything but that. I can't do that. Chloe still held on, whispering in my ear. Let's talk about divorce again after you get your memory back. You think that once my memory comes back, I won't want a divorce? I frowned at her. She didn't answer, but her silence was answer enough. I laughed coldly. It's no use, Chloe. If fate made me forget, maybe I'm not supposed to remember. Maybe this is my chance to finally leave you. I was resistant to the idea of remembering, of going back to being that 27-year-old man. Chloe had no choice but to back off for the time being. I had a few days of normal life, but then, to my surprise, Julian showed up. Ethan, we need to talk. Julian looked haggard and worn out, with deep, dark circles under his eyes. He was waiting for me downstairs from my office, and I didn't want to make a scene in front of my colleagues. If you have something to say, just say it. Julian suddenly laughed, a bitter, sarcastic sound. You must be feeling pretty smug, huh? Chloe unilaterally terminated her partnership with my family's company. Now everyone in our circle knows the Hayes family has lost its biggest supporter. I frowned. I was genuinely surprised, but I kept my voice even. What does that have to do with me? You should take it up with her. But she said she won't help me. Did you say something to her? I was getting annoyed. I thought you came here to sincerely apologize, but it seems you're just looking out for yourself. We have nothing to talk about. I turned to leave, but Julian's voice, sharp and high-pitched, stopped me. Ethan, why does a nobody from the middle of nowhere like you get to be her husband? Why? What do you have that I don't? I stopped in my tracks. A sharp ringing in my ears made it impossible to think. I felt like I had heard those words before. Right after Chloe and I got married, all of her rich friends used to mock me. Back then, Julian had been friendly, even pretending to be understanding, offering me all sorts of advice. But his advice always ended up making me look like a fool in front of everyone. I became insecure, timid, constantly walking on eggshells. I grew paranoid, terrified that Chloe would leave me. The images flashed through my mind, fragmented but definitely my own memories, not yet fully formed. Julian ran up behind me. Ethan, I can apologize, but you have to tell Chloe. Get lost. I shoved his hand away, my eyes burning. I couldn't care less about you and Chloe. Do me a favor and tell her I never want to see either of you again. The farther away you both are, the better. Just as I was about to leave, I nearly collided with a familiar figure. A light, familiar laugh came from above me. How do we always manage to walk in on a scene like this, Chloe? Isn't that right? It was Jessica's voice. Before I could react, another hand grabbed me and pulled me away. By the time I realized what was happening, Chloe was standing beside me. She shot a cold glare at Jessica. Stay away from him. Jessica just shrugged. I wasn't doing anything to him. Look at you, so tense. Then, she turned her smiling gaze to Julian, whose face was pale. Why are you always harassing Ethan behind Chloe's back? He's the one causing trouble for me. Julian's expression was cold, only softening slightly when he looked at Chloe. Chloe, we grew up together. We were childhood friends. What happened before was just a misunderstanding. Can't you just let it go? Chloe's reply was cool. I've done what I needed to do. I don't owe you anything. I looked out for you because of your grandfather, but that doesn't give you the right to be greedy. Me greedy? Julian's face grew even darker. Unable to come up with a response, he just clenched his fists, shot me a hateful glare, and stormed off. After he was gone, I finally understood why he had been so desperate to find me. It turned out Chloe had publicly addressed what happened at the pool. She had told everyone that it was never a choice between me and Julian. She would always save me. She said she only saved Julian because she didn't know I was in the water too. If she had known I was in the water, there would have been no choice to make. She would have saved me. Her words were blunt, completely dismissing the idea that Julian was important to her, let alone more important than me. Before this, I had been the laughingstock of their circle because of that incident. My own wife didn't seem to care if I lived or died. Everyone was just waiting to see when she would finally dump me. I never expected such a dramatic turn of events. Those people only cared about Chloe's opinion. By saying what she did, she was publicly backing me up and humiliating Julian. No wonder Julian was so rattled. It wasn't just his business interests that were at stake. His entire public image had been shattered. But I still didn't get it. If Chloe really didn't have feelings for him, why had I spent all those years treating him like my biggest rival? Those fragmented memories flashed before my eyes again, and a dull ache started in my head. I shook it, trying to clear the fog. Seeing my distress, a flicker of worry crossed Chloe's eyes. She quickly steadied me. Are you not feeling well? I'll take you to the hospital. I'm not going. I pulled my arm away. Just make sure your precious Julian stays away from me from now on. You don't need to worry about anything else. Don't worry, Chloe said in a low voice. I won't give him the chance again. I won't make that mistake again. Jessica, who was still standing nearby, chimed in coolly. You can choose not to make the same mistake twice, but that doesn't mean every mistake can be forgiven. I thought she had a point and nodded in agreement. But Chloe shot her a cold look. I already gave you the West Side Project as thanks for saving him. Don't push your luck. Jessica laughed. I did save his life. I'm his hero. He can't swim. If I hadn't jumped in, you'd be a widow right now. And this is the attitude you're giving me? Chloe's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them. How do you know he can't swim? A rare, mischievous smile played on Jessica's lips. How do you think? She sighed. Well, since you two are getting divorced anyway, I won't hide it anymore. I've known him for a long time. I even told him how I felt, but then he fell for you. She clicked her tongue. Ethan, if you think you made a mistake back then, I'm willing to give you a second chance. In the next instant, Chloe lunged at her. The two of them started fighting, a tangle of limbs and flying hair. I had never seen the eternally composed Chloe lose her cool like that. I had also never seen two women fight before, so I just stood there and let them go at it. I had no interest in playing referee. So childish. I shook my head and headed back to the office. I just didn't expect Chloe to be one step ahead of me. By the time I got back to the office building, Chloe was already there waiting. She had a bruise on the corner of her mouth. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. I'll come pick you up when you're done with work. I looked at the fresh bruise on her face. Chloe looked away, a little self-conscious. Don't worry, I'm fine. You should see the other girl. I scoffed. Who said I was worried about you? Don't flatter yourself. Chloe's expression fell, but she insisted. I'll pick you up after work. I was losing my patience. I said I want a divorce. What part of that don't you understand? A hurt look crossed Chloe's face. She lowered her voice. Ethan, you have amnesia. You don't remember how you feel about me. Once you remember, everything will be fine. Why would I want to remember? Just because you and Julian are supposedly innocent. The hurt from the past was real, and my decision to divorce you is final. Or do you think that if I remember, I'll go back to being that pathetic loser who would forgive you for anything with just a snap of your fingers? I never thought that. Chloe's voice was dry and raspy. Looking at her, I suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. I looked her straight in the eye. Chloe, when I first woke up, I had lost all my memories. I was terrified. When I found out you were my wife, I was happy because I remembered you from before, and I thought you were a good person. Chloe, I always had this dream of marriage, of marrying a kind woman. I never imagined my wife would be like this. I'm disappointed in you, but I'm also disappointed in myself. I always despised guys who were pathetic in relationships. But in the name of love, I let you hurt me and twist me into someone I don't even recognize. Ever since I woke up, I haven't felt a single ounce of love from you, only annoyance and impatience. So what if nothing is going on between you and Julian? You haven't acted like a wife. You let him hurt me, and you hurt me too. I don't see any reason for this marriage to continue. Let's get a divorce. I had said a lot, and every word was from the heart. In that moment, I thought I saw something break behind Chloe's eyes. I turned and walked away without a second glance. After that day, I refused to hear anything more about Chloe. The people in their circle were always quick to switch allegiances. After what happened, they started trying to get information from me. Some of them tried to get on my good side, but I ignored them all. I just focused on my own life, waiting for the day Chloe would finally agree to the divorce. At the end of the workday, I stretched lazily. I was planning to ask Jessica out to dinner to properly thank her, but as soon as I walked out of the office building, I saw a black luxury car parked at the curb. My colleagues were whispering and giving me knowing looks. I couldn't show my annoyance, so I forced a smile as I saw Chloe leaning against the car door. Her figure was stunning, and her face was the kind that turned heads everywhere. I cursed under my breath and started to walk past her without making eye contact. Chloe immediately walked toward me. "Ethan," she called my name, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. I frowned, my patience thin. "Are you here with the divorce papers?" The smile on her face faltered for a second before she quickly recovered, deliberately changing the subject as she produced a set of car keys from her purse. "Ethan, do you like it?" A wave of gasps went through the crowd of onlookers. They were my colleagues, people I'd been keeping my distance from because of the amnesia. I never thought Chloe would pull such a cliché, flashy move. I answered instinctively, "I don't like SUVs." That's what my mouth said, but the thrill I felt seeing the keys was real. "So I like SUVs." That surprised me. My 18-year-old self hated SUVs. I was all about sports cars. A crowd was starting to form, and I felt uncomfortable. I told Chloe she should go, but she didn't move. I had no choice but to grab her hand. "Let's talk about this in private." Chloe led me to the car. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in a restaurant. "Just have dinner with me." Chloe looked at me, a sad, lonely look on her face. I frowned. "If I have dinner with you, will you agree to the divorce?" Chloe was silent for a long time before she finally said, "If you don't have this dinner with me, I will never divorce you." "Fine, you said it." I picked up my fork. She had clearly planned this meticulously. There was red wine, candles, and elaborate floral arrangements. It was a classic, romantic dinner. The portions were small, but it looked beautiful. I finished quickly, wiped my mouth, and said, "I'm done. I'm leaving." As I stood up to leave, Chloe looked at me, her expression wounded. "Ethan, have you forgotten what today is?" "What day?" I froze. Chloe's grip on her silverware tightened. After a moment, she said quietly, her voice full of sorrow, "It's our wedding anniversary." Our anniversary. I had no memory of it. I searched my mind, but came up completely blank on how we might have celebrated it in the past. Seeing the sad look on her face, I resisted the urge to say something sarcastic and instead said calmly, "Well, that's fitting. We can consider this our last supper." She remained silent, the dim light casting shadows under her eyes. From my angle, it only served to accentuate her already exquisite features. I knew she was trying to win me back, but I truly didn't think there was anything left to save in our marriage. "Excuse me," I said, "I need to use the restroom." Then I turned and left. The restroom had a large mirror. I turned on the tap and splashed cold water on my face, the shock of it helping to clear my head. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and told myself not to go back. I splashed more water on my face, trying to sober up. As I turned to leave, I saw Chloe walking toward me. Her eyes were so deep, filled with a thick, unreadable emotion. "Ethan, please, just remember." Before I could react, my back was pressed against the wall. She kissed me, her arms winding around my waist, clinging to me like a vine. Her kiss was soft, but her movements were desperate. "Chloe, let me go." I struggled. After what felt like an eternity, her sweet scent was all over me, but I still only wanted to push her away. "Chloe, it's no use." I knew she was only this persistent because I had amnesia. She thought that once my memory returned, I wouldn't be able to leave her. It was useless. I know myself. Even if I only stopped loving you because of the amnesia, I have a feeling that even if I got my memory back right now, I would still divorce you. The moment I said it, I saw a look of pure panic flash across Chloe's face. I had never seen her look like that before. She grabbed my hand, her fingers lacing through mine, her grip so tight it hurt. No, Ethan, you love me. We love each other. You've just forgotten. In love? I found that almost funny. I took a sharp step back, but the back of my head slammed against the wall. A sharp, blinding pain shot through my skull, and my face went pale. Chloe panicked. Ethan, what's wrong? Are you okay? I pushed her away, gritting my teeth against the pain. I'm fine. Don't touch me. Chloe could only stand beside me, her arms loosely around me, not wanting to trap me, but not willing to let go either. Her breath was hot against my skin as she kissed me with a feverish intensity. My body felt weak, unable to fight back against her advances. But the throbbing pain in the back of my head was causing a flood of clear, sharp images to flash before my eyes. My legs felt weak, and I stumbled. Chloe supported my head with one hand while her kisses grew more intense. And in that state, the fragmented images began to connect, flowing together until they formed a crystal-clear memory. I remembered our first time, how we got together, how we got married. I remembered how Julian and his friends used to mock me. I remembered embarrassing myself in front of her parents, being laughed at by her friends. And I remembered how we used to fight about Julian. So that's how it was. A dull ache spread through my chest as all the pain from the past came rushing back. It was a torment that even amnesia couldn't erase. My first time with Chloe was a cliché. It was at a party. She was drunk, and I had had a little too much to drink myself. She looked me in the eye and drunkenly asked me to take her back to her room. I don't know who made the first move, but the next thing I knew, she was in my arms. I was so nervous I could barely breathe. It was clearly her first time too. I could see the panic in the way she clutched the sheets. But in the blink of an eye, she was back to being the aloof, untouchable ice princess. The next morning, Chloe saw me and, without any other reaction, just said, "We should date." I'd had a crush on her for years, so of course, I agreed. After that, we fell into a passionate relationship, just like any normal couple. But we were both incredibly possessive. She told me she didn't want me getting too close to my female friends, and I didn't want her getting too close to any other men. We were loyal to each other, but Julian's arrival shattered that balance. She said her grandfather treated him like his own grandson, so she couldn't just cut him off. Her reasoning was sound, but I couldn't accept it. Ever since we got married, I had been deeply insecure about my background. She came from a wealthy, powerful family, while I was just a regular guy who had only gotten the chance to meet her because I'd gotten into a good school. Otherwise, a guy like me would never have even crossed paths with someone like her. And Julian was one of them, a rich kid from her world. Even though Chloe told me his family had fallen on hard times and needed her help, he was still one of them. So what if his family had lost their fortune? He was still the kind of wealthy heir I could only dream of being. The gap between us made me lose myself. I became unreasonable, checking her phone, trying to control who she saw, even her colleagues and employees. I knew they were all innocent, but I was in a bad place emotionally, and I couldn't control myself. All the sweet memories we had made vanished, replaced by constant fighting and the humiliation of being an outsider in her world. I remembered our last fight. It was about her telling me she didn't want to have children. I asked her, what if you did get pregnant? If we had a child, would she finally be able to let go of Julian? She looked at me with such disappointment in her eyes. Do you think a child is just a tool for you to secure your position in this family? Then I hope I never get pregnant. And if I do, I'll get rid of it. Her words were so cruel, they pushed me into absolute despair. At the same time, everyone in their circle was saying that even if the Hayes family went bankrupt, Chloe would bail them out. I begged her not to, but she went anyway. The double blow was too much for me. I threatened her, telling her I would kill myself if she went. I had threatened suicide many times before when I was upset, but I had never been serious. Chloe had put up with it once or twice, but by the third time, she didn't take me seriously anymore, and she left. And then, I actually tried to kill myself, was saved, and woke up with amnesia. As all of this came flooding back, the pain in my heart was so intense it went numb. No wonder I wanted to forget. No wonder I couldn't remember anything. The memories were just too painful. I was shaking all over. Chloe noticed something was wrong. Ethan, what is it? Chloe, you make me sick. I looked her in the eye, clutching my chest, and then let out a long sigh. The truth is, I discussed myself too. I closed my eyes and passed out. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. It was the same doctor as before, and she was checking on me. Chloe was holding my hand anxiously. When she saw I was awake, she immediately called the doctor. Dr. Riley, he's awake. Dr. Riley checked my eyes. He's fine, she said. It was just an extreme emotional response. He had some old bruising in his head, and the impact seems to have cleared it up. He just needs to rest. Chloe let out a sigh of relief, then turned to me. When did you hit your head? Why didn't you tell me? I pulled my hand away, my expression even colder than it had been when I had amnesia. Chloe seemed to realize something. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Ethan, did you? Before she could finish her tentative question, I cut her off. It's no use, Chloe. Let's get a divorce. I saw her swallow, and her voice was bitter when she spoke. I told you. You just don't remember right now. I remember. I looked her straight in the eye. I remember everything. And I still want a divorce. Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief, a tremor running through her. I had never seen such a look of devastation in her eyes. But I knew I was making the right decision. I closed my eyes. Being with you is too painful, Chloe. Let's get a divorce. I had said the word divorce countless times. Chloe had always reacted strongly, but never like this, with this dead, hopeless silence. Dr. Riley, who was standing nearby, seemed unable to take it anymore. Ethan, don't be too harsh. Chloe has already apologized to you. Before she could finish, Chloe cut her off. It's my fault. I glanced at Chloe. When I first woke up, she warned me just like that. All of your friends did, telling me not to be ungrateful. I paused, my voice softening slightly. Chloe, do you still think we shouldn't get a divorce? After I left the hospital that day, I didn't see Chloe for a long time. I had made myself perfectly clear, and I assumed she would eventually come to terms with it and let go. I thought that maybe, soon, I would finally receive the divorce papers from her. My life gradually settled into a peaceful routine, and work got back on track. There was just one thing that was becoming a headache. Now that she knew my memory was back, Jessica started contacting me frequently. So you really did have amnesia? I was a little suspicious before, but I can't believe it was real. She had that same playful smile on her face. So, once you're divorced, what do you say you give me a chance? I'm not divorced yet. I corrected her. The papers aren't even signed. What you're doing right now makes you the other woman. I suggest you back off. I wasn't saying it because I had any lingering feelings for Chloe, but because I had no desire to jump into another relationship so soon. Besides, while Jessica hadn't technically been the other woman, she had definitely inserted herself into my life before things with Chloe were officially over. I was grateful to her for saving my life, but that was it. I'm grateful to you, but I don't have feelings for you. You don't have to be so harsh about it. Jessica pretended to look hurt, but then her expression softened with a hint of relief. I was just taking a shot in the dark. Ethan, I got over you a long time ago. I was just angry seeing you so miserable. I understand. I gave her a quick hug, and then I saw Chloe walking toward us in the distance. I felt a surge of annoyance and was about to leave, but then Chloe suddenly rushed to the side and started dry heaving. Jessica's expression immediately soured. Did she get so disgusted by seeing us hug that she's going to be sick? No, it's not that, Chloe managed to say. I don't feel well. Her voice was strained. A sudden thought seemed to strike both Jessica and me at the same time. We exchanged a look. Jessica's face fell, and she stared at Chloe, who was looking miserable. You're not. Chloe's eyes widened, as if the same possibility had just occurred to her. A baby. I shook my head violently. No way. I closed my eyes, feeling dizzy. I suddenly remembered that the final straw, the thing that made me want to die, was Chloe telling me she didn't want children, that if she got pregnant, she would have an abortion. Seeing my reaction, Chloe ignored her own nausea and stepped forward, her voice choked with emotion. Ethan, I was annoyed and didn't want to deal with the possibility that she was actually pregnant. I don't want to see you again, except to sign the divorce papers. Chloe wiped her mouth and sadly pulled out another set of car keys. You don't like the SUV. What about a sports car? I don't like that either. I looked at her coldly. I don't want anything from you. Chloe's eyes turned red. You don't like the SUV, you don't like the sports car. What about the house? The stocks? Anything I have, it's yours. I don't know what else to do. She was practically begging. We can fight all you want, I just don't want to get a divorce. I didn't want to make a scene on the street, so I grabbed her arm and pulled her into the car. As the car started moving, she looked even sicker. I sighed and asked stiffly, Are you okay? Chloe immediately sat up straight and shook her head. I'm fine. After she said it, she touched her stomach, a hopeful look on her face. I was at a loss for words. After a moment, I calmed down, took a deep breath, and said to her evenly, Chloe, you don't have to do this. I'm not even mad at you anymore. Besides what happened with Julian in the pool, I've had time to think about everything else, and I've realized we're just not right for each other. You never made me feel secure, but I also lacked confidence, which made me paranoid and caused me to do a lot of things that annoyed you. I'm not blameless in this. We both made mistakes that led us here. It's almost funny in a way. Even though I don't want to see Chloe, I can't stand the person I used to be. Clinging to her every day, obsessed with her, my entire world revolving around our love, as if nothing else mattered. A man like that has no charm. Even I don't like him, so how could Chloe? I didn't dislike it, Chloe said in a raspy voice. I was impatient, I admit. But I never, ever thought about divorcing you. I thought we would spend the rest of our lives together, even if we fought all the time. But I don't want to live like that anymore. I shook my head. Julian was just a catalyst. The real problem is that we're from two different worlds. I can't trust you, and you can't be expected to cater to my insecurities forever. Over time, we'd both just get exhausted, and new problems would pop up. Chloe, we're adults. Let's stop being so childish. As the black Rolls-Royce drove away, I stood my ground, refusing to let Chloe take me home. Standing on the sidewalk, watching her car disappear down the street, I sighed. If she really is pregnant, I'm not close with my family. My relationship with my parents is strained. After they divorced, they both remarried and started new families. After I met Chloe, all I wanted was to have a happy, perfect little family with her. I clung to that idea like a drowning man clings to a life raft. The tighter I held on, the faster it slipped through my fingers. I've always wanted a child. That's why, after she said what she did, I completely lost hope. I thought that even if Chloe didn't want the baby, as long as she had it, I could raise it on my own, and that would be enough. But she didn't even give me that hope. I should be as ruthless as she was, but the thought of it being my own child, I just couldn't be that cold. It was my day off, so I went to the hospital for a head scan. I was on my way home with the test results when I suddenly ran into someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Ethan, what's that in your hand? Julian appeared out of nowhere, startling me. I instinctively shoved the scan results into my bag. What's it to you? I was on my guard. Julian didn't look stable. His face was gaunt, his eyes were vacant, and his clothes were rumpled, as if he had just gone through something terrible. When he saw me look away, he lunged at me, trying to grab the papers from my bag. He was acting erratically and was no match for me physically. Suddenly, he started screaming. Do you know Chloe's pregnant? She's pregnant with your child. Why? Why do I lose everything while you get to have a baby with her? I'm the one who was supposed to have it all. I'm her childhood friend. What right do you, a nobody who came later, have to be with her? What? Chloe was really pregnant. My mind was reeling, and I barely registered Julian's insane ranting. Why? Why? If you have a problem, take it up with Chloe. It has nothing to do with me. I took a step back, not wanting to get dragged into his madness. This was something Chloe needed to handle. My old self had been so naive, thinking that as long as I was by her side, she would never stray. But for a woman like her, changing her mind is the easiest thing in the world. I didn't need to waste my time and energy warning off other men. Are you laughing at me? Julian let out a crazed laugh and stepped closer, his eyes boring into mine. You know she cut all ties with my family, that she made me a laughingstock, and that she'll never help me again. Is that why you're mocking me? I frowned and took a step back. Just as I was about to turn and leave, Julian blocked my path again. You're the one who told her everything, aren't you? Told her what? I had no idea what he was talking about. You told her I was deliberately sabotaging you behind your back, that I was trying to drive you two apart, that I was the one who pushed you into the pool. You went and told on me, didn't you? I laughed coldly. You did all those things. Are you afraid of people finding out? I knew it was you. He let out a piercing scream and lunged at me. I dodged out of instinct and saw that he had pulled a knife from somewhere. He was coming straight for me, clearly intending to kill me. He must have been truly desperate to resort to this. Ethan, I heard a frantic shout, but the pain I was expecting never came. When I opened my eyes, I saw Chloe standing in front of me. I watched, frozen, as the knife sank into her chest. Blood poured from the wound, and the color drained from her face. But her eyes were fixed on me, checking to see if I was okay. She raised her hand, as if to touch my face, but it fell, lifeless, to her side. Chloe, I screamed her name, but she couldn't hear me. In the hospital, everything was a sterile white. I ran behind the nurses, helping to push the gurney. It was covered in blood. My hands were covered in blood. I held Chloe's hand, and it was trembling. I couldn't tell if it was her hand or mine. She squeezed my hand weakly and whispered, Ethan, are you okay? I'm fine. Don't talk. Just don't talk. Every word she spoke seemed to drain the life from her. I just wanted her to be okay. She lifted her hand, trying to touch my face. Don't cry, she said. It hurts me to see you cry. Don't talk. Just don't talk. You can't die. I won't let you die. Do you hear me? Don't make me live with this guilt for the rest of my life. But Chloe squeezed my hand, using the last of her strength to say, if I don't make it this time, you start a new life. Being a widower means you won't need a divorce. A faint smile touched her lips. At least we'll still be married. Don't say stupid things like that. I had never been so panicked in my life, terrified that she was really going to die. All the feelings I thought were gone came rushing back, and I realized they had only been suppressed, not erased. I didn't want to get hurt again, so I had tried to forget her. And maybe, with more time, I could have. But now, just as I remembered everything between us, she was dying to save my life. I couldn't let go. I still wanted to divorce her, but I desperately needed her to walk out of that operating room alive and well. Then we could sign the papers, go our separate ways, and live our own lives. The light above the operating room door stayed on. I sat in a chair in the waiting area, just waiting. My hands were still covered in blood, all of it Chloe's. The world around me faded away. I didn't move until Chloe's mother rushed in, demanding, "How is she? How's Chloe?" I finally lifted my vacant eyes to look at her, my voice hoarse. "I'm sorry, we don't know yet. The doctors are doing everything they can." Mrs. Monroe's eyes rolled back in her head, and she nearly fainted. I expected her to blame me, but she didn't say a word. After she composed herself, she gave me a look and told me to wait here. I didn't know what she meant, but I did as I was told and stayed put. A few minutes later, I saw Mrs. Monroe dragging Liam by the hair, throwing him in my direction. "He's the one who did this, isn't he?" I hesitated for a second, then nodded. Mrs. Monroe grabbed a fistful of his hair and slammed his head against the floor. "If anything happens to my daughter, I will destroy you." Mrs. Monroe, it's all Ethan's fault. It has nothing to do with me. He was the one I wanted to kill. Why would I ever want to hurt Chloe?" Mrs. Monroe slapped him hard across the face, twice. "You think that makes it better? He's my son-in-law. You hurt him, and I'll make you pay just the same." Hearing her words, I stared at her, stunned. I had always thought she disliked me. I never expected her to say something like that. I had been so sure she would blame me. After all, Liam had been coming for me. Chloe took the knife that was meant for me. "Why?" Liam's voice cracked. "Mrs. Monroe, you used to like me." He sounded completely broken. "That was before I saw you for what you really are," Mrs. Monroe said, her voice filled with loathing. "I did like you. I watched you grow up. I thought I knew you. But you can't force love. My daughter doesn't love you, and I can't force her to be with you. Even if I didn't think the man she chose was right for her, at least Ethan has a good heart. And it turns out, Chloe's judgment was better than mine." Mrs. Monroe said, her voice filled with pain. "I know everything you've done. Out of respect for your grandfather, we let it slide. But I never imagined you would escalate things, that you would resort to something so vile. If anything happens to Chloe, I will make sure you never have a moment of peace for the rest of your life." As she spoke, she pulled out her phone and called Chloe's father. He was already on his way. Mrs. Monroe even gave him instructions over the phone. "Don't let the Hayes family get off easy. Tell them this is all Liam's doing." Liam collapsed on the floor, sobbing like a madman. Mrs. Monroe shook her head, her voice filled with pity. "You were just too spoiled. Your family never taught you right from wrong, and this is where it's led you." Liam was still hysterical, making a scene. I didn't want to hear any of it. I just stared at the operating room doors, praying that Chloe would be okay. The light above the operating room door went off. My head snapped up. I said to the others, "Quiet. The surgery is over." Mrs. Monroe immediately fell silent and gestured for the security guards to drag Liam away. She glanced at me, but said nothing. We both understood the situation. Nothing needed to be said. We were from completely different worlds. Our relationship wasn't warm, but it was built on a foundation of mutual respect. The surgeon came out, and we both rushed forward. "How is she?" The doctor sighed. "We're closing her up now. The rest will depend on her will to live." His words were gentle, but Mrs. Monroe and I both understood what he meant. After a long silence, Chloe was moved to a private room for observation. Mrs. Monroe and I followed, neither of us speaking. Maybe we just didn't have the energy. Mrs. Monroe's eyes were red and swollen, all the fight she'd shown with Liam completely gone. In the end, she was just a mother, worried about her daughter. I sat by her bedside, looking at her still, pale face, and whispered, "I'm sorry." My voice was hoarse, thick with unshed tears. Mrs. Monroe didn't acknowledge me. After a moment, she said, "It would be a lie to say I don't blame you at all. But I know this is Liam's fault." "I understand, Mrs. Monroe," I said quietly. "No matter what, I'll take care of her." Mrs. Monroe sighed. "I know you two were planning to divorce. I didn't like you at first, it's true, but I never tried to make things difficult for you. I even defended you to others. But Ethan, confidence comes from within. If you don't believe you're worthy, if you're constantly insecure and afraid, how can you expect anyone else to believe it?" Chloe was their only daughter, and for the most part, they respected her decisions. After Chloe and I got married, she had a talk with them, asking them not to interfere too much in our lives. And they had agreed. Mrs. Monroe had never spoken to me so candidly before. I nodded, unable to find any words. Chloe's father arrived soon after, his expression grim. He told Mrs. Monroe that everything had been handled, Now, all they could do was wait for Chloe to wake up. After a long night of waiting, Mrs. Monroe said to me, "You're exhausted. Go home and get some rest." I shook my head. "It's okay. I'm young. You two should go home." Mrs. Monroe frowned and was about to argue, but a wave of dizziness suddenly washed over me. The room spun, and then everything went black. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed next to Chloe's. Mrs. Monroe saw that I was awake and rushed over. "How are you feeling? Does anything hurt?" "No." I shook my head. "How long was I out?" "Not long. The doctor said you're suffering from exhaustion. You need to rest." I nodded, but I noticed a complicated look in Mrs. Monroe's eyes. "Is there something else?" I asked. Mrs. Monroe sighed. "Chloe's pregnant. Did you know?" I instinctively pressed my lips together, not knowing how to respond. I hadn't wanted them to know. If they knew Chloe was carrying my child, they would insist she have it. After all, they needed an heir. After the divorce, they would undoubtedly fight me for custody. With their money and influence, I wouldn't stand a chance. This was the only family I had, and I couldn't let that happen. I remained silent. Mrs. Monroe seemed to understand, and after a long pause, she sighed. "I don't want to interfere in your business with Chloe, but this baby..." She looked at me. "The doctor said that as long as the mother pulls through, the baby will be fine. When Chloe wakes up, she will definitely want to keep this child. And we want the baby to grow up in a stable home." I frowned. "Mrs. Monroe, the most important thing right now is whether Chloe will wake up at all." Mrs. Monroe sighed. "Ethan, Chloe was wrong in how she treated you. But she does truly love you. She's just been spoiled her whole life and doesn't know how to show it." Before she left, she patted my shoulder. "Don't worry. No matter what happens, the Monroe family will protect you. That's what Chloe would want." I nodded. After she left, it was just me and Chloe in the room. I looked at her still form, my heart aching, but the thought of the baby brought a fresh wave of anger. "Chloe, I remember you said you didn't want this baby. If you wake up and decide to get rid of it, then I hope you never wake up at all." I finished speaking, but she remained completely still. I let out a bitter laugh. "Weren't you trying to atone for your mistakes? Weren't you trying to change? Are you just trying to get out of it by lying here like this?" I knew she couldn't hear me, but what her mother had said had shaken me. I needed to vent. "Chloe, since you don't like kids, when you wake up, you can have the baby, and I'll raise it myself. The baby will still call you Mom, of course. You're its mother. Even if we're divorced, we can be civil. But I'm not going to be alone forever. It might not be long before your child is calling someone else Mom." I said it just to get a reaction out of her, even if she was unconscious. I wouldn't get married again. Maybe I'd date, but I was done with marriage. What do you think of Jessica? She's been in love with me for years, and she saved my life. Maybe she'd be a great stepmom. Before I could finish, Chloe's fingers twitched. It was just a small movement. She didn't wake up. I was disappointed. "Chloe, I'm not kidding. If you don't wake up soon, I'll really..." Before I could finish my sentence, her eyelid fluttered. This time, I saw it clearly. It wasn't my imagination. "Doctor." I was so excited I immediately called for Dr. Riley. Dr. Riley was a good friend of Chloe's and had been at the hospital ever since she was admitted. She and Chloe's attending physician rushed in. After a quick examination, Dr. Riley told me, a hint of surprise in her voice, she should be waking up soon. "Don't worry." I nodded. "Thank you." Dr. Riley started to leave, but then she turned back to me. "About before, I'm sorry. Ethan." She had always called me Mr. Anderson before. Dr. Riley looked genuinely remorseful. "I always used to think you weren't good enough for Chloe. But that's between the two of you. As long as she loves you, I had no right to be so hostile. It's in the past." I kept my face blank. Her apology didn't mean much to me. I had never considered her a friend, just an acquaintance. Seeing my lack of reaction, Dr. Riley didn't press the issue and left after a few polite words. I sat by her bed, waiting for her to wake up. In the middle of the night, overcome with exhaustion, I fell asleep in the chair, my head resting on the bed, still holding her hand. The hospital was cold at night. I started to wake up, thinking about finding a blanket, when I felt a warmth spread over my shoulders. I opened my eyes with a start and saw Chloe tucking a blanket around me. "You're awake." I was so relieved I could barely speak. I gripped her hand and was about to call for the doctor. While we waited for the doctor to arrive, Chloe gently pulled me into a hug. She whispered in my ear, her voice hoarse, "Don't let my baby call another woman Mom." Her voice was weak, but she was insistent, saying this the moment she woke up. I was both annoyed and amused. I gently pushed her back. "Let's get your head checked first." Chloe was finally awake. The Monroe family was overjoyed, and the Hayes family, in turn, breathed a collective sigh of relief. If Chloe had died, they probably would have had to sacrifice Liam to appease the Monroes. That was an exaggeration, of course, But for a fallen dynasty like the Hayes family, with so many mouths to feed, cutting off their source of income was a fate worse than death. They would do anything to appease the Monroes and get them to back off. Even with Chloe awake, the relationship between the Hayes and Monroe families was irrevocably broken. After that, the dynamic between Chloe and me shifted. Before, we had fought constantly, but I had never seriously considered leaving her. It was only when she said she didn't want children, that she would terminate any pregnancy, that I had lost all hope. After she recovered, she took me to a therapist to try and get to the root of our problems. And when she finally understood the real reason, the look of utter regret on her face is something I'll never forget. She said, "Ethan, I was just angry. How could I ever not want our child?" She seemed genuinely terrified as she held me tight. "Back then, when you said that if I got pregnant, I would have to cut ties with Liam, I just thought you were being jealous, that I could calm you down. I knew I was making mistakes, but I always felt like I had my reasons, and I just wanted you to understand my position, without ever trying to understand yours. When you said that, I thought you were trying to use a baby as a bargaining chip, as a tool to control me. I was so angry, and I said those horrible things, but I never, ever meant them." I understood what she was saying. I had said plenty of hurtful things in the past too, but that time, she had truly broken my heart. "Ethan, give me a chance." Chloe's voice was barely a whisper. "I can't lose you, and I can't lose this baby. Just watch me. See how I do. Okay, if things go back to the way they were, then you can leave, and I won't say a word. Ethan, I want to try again. I love you so much. We were so in love once. I can't accept it ending like this." Was I ready to give up either? But I was just too scared to try again. Everything she said was true. There had been a huge misunderstanding between us. But no matter how big the misunderstanding, the pain I had felt was real. I was hurt too, Ethan. Chloe cupped my face in her hands. We were like two porcupines, but I'm willing to put my quills down. My mind was a mess. I didn't give her an answer right away. Chloe didn't push. She showed me care and affection, but she was careful not to cross any lines. She was still recovering, and I told her to focus on the pregnancy and not to worry about me. But while she would agree, she still kept track of every little detail of my life. I thought she was just doing it out of a sense of obligation, to give our child a complete family. But I later realized that I wasn't the only one who had been keeping score in our marriage. She had been too. After we got married, I was constantly insecure, and I did a lot of things that drove her crazy. I always thought our relationship started on a bad note. I admitted to her one day, "I thought you were only with me because of that one night. I was afraid that you'd meet all these other successful guys and realize I was nothing special." I couldn't hold it in any longer. Chloe, we were on such different levels. I couldn't handle it back then. That's why I asked for a divorce. It wasn't just you. I had my own issues. I didn't want to sink any lower. Speaking of that night, Chloe was filled with regret. "Ethan, I never wanted any other man. I had a crush on you for a long time before that. I just never found the right opportunity. You thought that night was an accident, but think about it. Even if I was drunk, I would never have let a man I didn't like get that close to me." I was stunned. I cut her off. "What do you mean? You weren't drunk that night." I had felt guilty about that night for years. She had been so drunk she could barely stand, but I had only been tipsy, my mind perfectly clear. I had taken advantage of her. But hearing her say that, the guilt that had haunted me for years vanished. "Chloe, if you were sober, why didn't you say something sooner? I've spent all this time thinking I took advantage of you." Chloe smiled apologetically. "Ethan, I was only in my early 20s. I was afraid of being rejected, so I had to test the waters that way. I wouldn't do that now." I couldn't help but feel a pang of resentment. If you had just told me, I wouldn't have been so insecure. I wouldn't have done all those stupid things. She placed my hand over her heart. "I know. I was stupid too. I liked you so much, but I always acted like I didn't care, because I loved seeing you dote on me. I knew you hated Liam, but I just thought you were overreacting instead of trying to solve the real problem with my grandfather. Ethan, I did so many things wrong, and I misunderstood so much. If you hadn't lost your memory, I never would have realized how terrible I was being." We talked for a long time that day, getting everything out in the open. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep. By then, she was over 6 months pregnant, her belly round and full. I gently lifted her from behind and carried her to the large bed. Chloe stirred, her arms instinctively wrapping around my neck. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was soft. Chloe looked at me, her gaze intense. Then she tilted her head up and kissed me. I didn't say anything, just savored the moment. After a while, she pulled away. My face was flushed. I heard her whisper in my ear, her voice low and husky. "Ethan, please don't divorce me." I suddenly burst out laughing. I had thought, after such a passionate moment, she would ask for something a little more, in line with the mood. I never expected her to just ask me not to divorce her. Seeing me laugh, Chloe looked a little annoyed, but she didn't say anything, just playfully poked me. Don't laugh. Answer my question. I slowly stopped laughing, my expression turning serious. Chloe immediately panicked. Okay, you don't have to answer. This is fine. This is good. I understood her panic. I sighed and gently stroked her cheek. Chloe, just give me some more time to think, okay? Even though we had cleared up the misunderstandings between us, learning to trust her again wasn't going to be easy, especially for a couple like us, who had been through so much. We hadn't crossed any unforgivable lines, but the scars were still there. Rebuilding trust would take a long time. She focused on her pregnancy, and for the baby's sake, I found myself being more patient with her. The pregnancy was hard on her, and even though she never complained, I could see how much she was struggling. I felt for her. It was my child, after all. The baby was born before we knew it, and the days flew by. I was mentally prepared for anything. If Chloe was a good mother, I would be happy. But if she wasn't, I was ready to leave her without a second thought. As it turned out, Chloe never disappointed me. One day, after she had put the baby to sleep, she turned to leave the nursery and saw me leaning against the doorway, smiling at her. Chloe walked over to me. What is it? Nothing. It's just, I feel like I haven't seen your icy side in a long time. Chloe let out a sigh of relief, then laughed, wrapping her arms around my waist. That's ancient history. Can we please not bring it up again? Why not? I laughed, dodging her playful swat. But I kinda miss the old, I see you. I bet you look beautiful changing a diaper with a stern look on your face. Chloe knew I was teasing her and chased me into the bedroom with a mock-serious expression. As she tackled me onto the bed, I heard her ask, So, honey, have I passed my probation period? I laughed. You passed, but you're still on probation. How long is the probation? A lifetime.